What's your take on this data this morning?
Well, for some time now, employment has not recovered post-pandemic. That's a big problem. Unemployment, as Ian was just saying, ticking upwards is also of a concern. And that's because we know that we've had this cost of living crisis in the UK. So on the one hand, we've had the problems with prices. On the other hand, this is about people not being able to earn what they should be earning. And we know in lots of parts of the country, these are national averages, in lots of parts of the country, it's even worse. People are not able to get a good job that's bringing the money in so that they can look after their family. And so I think it's very worrying, and we need a totally different approach, in my opinion.
The wage growth this morning was positive, though, I guess, 6% inflation, but below that at the moment. On unemployment, as Ian pointed out, ticking up from 4.2% to 4.3%. That's still historically low.
That's right, but you have to look at it in the context of what our economy is doing, and we're in a recovery phase, or at least we should be. Unemployment should be low, and whilst that, historically speaking, is at a low level, that employment plateauing says that something's not right. What's going on there? Well, people haven't got enough good choices about the kind of jobs that they can do. That's why Labour's plan is two things, really. Use our Green Prosperity Plan to create more good new jobs, and then reform job centres to help people get those jobs. I don't know about everyone else, but I don't know anybody who wants to go in a job centre at the moment. They've got this tick box culture, they don't offer real help, and that's got to change, because we want to see people doing the kinds of jobs that are going to help build us a better future, not just any job they can get.
So let's talk, let's talk about Labour's New Deal for Working People, which falls under your acting remit. Talks with union bosses are reportedly looming, including today. Unite's boss Sharon Graham has said it would be a red line if Labour tried to either delay the implementation of what they've announced in the past or water it down at all. What's your message to union bosses?
Well, the New Deal for Working People is extremely important, particularly given the context that we've just been talking about what's happening for people at work at the moment. So just to give one example, we've got 300,000 social care workers in this country doing one of the hardest jobs on a 0-hours contract. And I would just ask anybody, would you feel supported and looked after doing a really difficult job, looking after vulnerable people, if you were on a 0-hours contract? So those issues have got to be dealt with. That's what the New Deal for Working People is all about, making sure that people have got rights at work that mean that they can earn the kind of income that help them look after their family. Without going into all of the detail of this process started in 2021. We've been talking to friends in business and friends in the trade union movement through all of that time to make sure that we get it right. That process is ongoing. But those principles that were laid out in 2021, that's what we need, because working people in this country deserve a better deal.
And all of those principles will still be delivered in the first 100 days of a Labour government?
Yes, of course. That's what we set out firstly in 2021 and then last year in our National Policy Forum process, where, as I say, without going through all the boring detail, we talk very regularly about this and how it would work in practice with, across unions and businesses and all the stakeholders. To give another example, we know that, lots of people are unwell at the moment. The country is sicker than it has been before, and that's why we need to make sure that we've got good, flexible working for people so that as they return to work, they know that if they are unwell, that they're protected and they can stay in work.
It sounds like union bosses have nothing to worry about, and we'll watch meetings that your party has with them today with interest. Why doesn't Labour up its commitment on defence spending rather than saying 2.5% when conditions allow it, just match what the government has done and say by 2030, which is not a million miles away, but might change the narrative?
So as you just mentioned, we want to have 2.5% on defence, and our record in government bears out that we invested in defence, because nothing matters more than the security of the nation. I have to say, it's a bit odd to have these allegations from Conservative ministers when Ben Wallace, the former Defence Minister, himself said that the armed forces had been hollowed out on their watch. And then we've got this £46 billion commitment to get rid of national insurance that is not costed at all. So I feel a little bit sceptical, to say the least, about some of these claims we've had in the past 24 hours.
I did ask the Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt, about that on Friday, and he clarified and said it's a long-term ambition and wasn't a policy.
We've all got long-term ambitions. If the Labour Party put forward something like that, don't you think we'd be asked how we're going to fund it?
We've discussed that, no, and I think it's a fair point, but it's also fair that they're saying it's not a policy, whereas their 2030 2.5% GDP is. I just wanted to go into that. You said there's nothing more important than national security. Keir Starmer said it repeatedly in his response to the government yesterday. I just wonder why, therefore, a policy still has a caveat of when conditions allow it.
Because of what the Conservative Party have done to our economy, because when Liz Truss was in charge, she too went down this road of big, unfunded tax cuts, 45 billion in her case, 46 billion in Rishi Sunak's case, and that has created fundamental weaknesses in our economy and in our public finances. And I think everybody would expect Rachel Reeves, as the Shadow Chancellor of the Exchequer, to say, well, we will make our plans when we've got access to all of the books, all of the details of Ministry of Defence spending, and I think people would expect that responsible approach from Rachel.
Alison McGovern, thanks so much for joining us this morning.